if you come across information that doesn't have the name of the author on it, but then you study it, you grasp it, you understand it, then you step out into the world and you manifest it. And as you step out into the laboratory of life, you realize that this information is actually impactful and beneficial, not just for yourself, but for the collective. And not just in the time being, you get to realize that over time, this information has proven to maintain stability. You decide now to put a cover on this information and even put a name on this cover. And then you create a group of people and you say that we are going to stand behind this information, and this organization is going to protect this information. Someone from your organization realizes that your modus of operation, maybe as the leader or maybe as a prominent person in the organization, they get to realize that your actions are not matching up to the words of this information that you're saying is beneficial. They decide now to take it upon themselves to leave your organization and even start a whole new organization, maybe with some members that they left with. And they say, you know what? We are going to go ahead and change up some of the information that we learned while we were under that organization. And they might not even follow your script word for word. They might just come up with it because they were already in tune with the practice that they got from your organization or from the organization, right? So they decide that they're going to change some things up and write their own manuscript, put a cover on it, slap a whole different name on it, and publish it. And whoever reads it and decides that they want to side with the doctrines that come from that organization, that's what they gonna go with. And then now you have these different individuals who pop up, realizing that, wow, these people seem to be getting popular off of putting together a manuscript and by believing in some doctrine. So we too can go ahead and start our own organization. We don't side with what that person right there is doing, and we don't like what that person right there is saying, and they say they belong to that organization. So you know what? We could just coin our own words with some of the words gotten from the other initial manuscript into theirs and just put a cover on it and release it out to the world and say, hey, this is ours. And here we go, religion today. We have religion in our world today, which was based off of information that individuals came across, decided to interpret this information to the best of their ability, coin it, and put it out. Then now you have a whole world. How many billion people are on this planet? And some people are saying, hey, I'm not going to subscribe to that. Some people are like, hey, you know what? I believe in this doctrine. It actually protects a lot of the values and the views that I have about what I'm perceiving this reality to be. So I'm going to subscribe to that. We call it Christianity. Somebody else subscribes to another one, Islam. Somebody else subscribes to another one, Hinduism. But keep in mind, the initial information that they came across was just information with no labeling. They decided to label it what they wanted to label it. When we choose to manifest righteousness, but we don't belong to an order or an organization, this is proof that the word that somebody decided to write and leave behind, even if their name was on it or not, is alive, because we are manifesting that. Now, if somebody else decides to say, you know what, y'all are tripping, all of that information that y'all are studying, whoever went through that had to go through, you know, certain processes that are just completely not even natural. And I don't think that that's the way that we're supposed to live. So how about I'm gonna just create my own manuscript, and I'm just letting you know that in this right here, you can give into your carnalities. Pleasure is not bad. You know, even whatever it is that y'all are calling sin in that manuscript right there, in this right here, that's not even what we're gonna call it. We're just gonna say that's just humans. You know, that's just humans being attached to the mode of the flesh, but it's not a bad thing because it's just humans and they're animals anyways, so they're gonna have to manifest their animal instinct. And then they decide to make that a manuscript, slap a title on it, and put it out. And then you have the ones in the world who eventually come across this information and they say, I actually resonate with that. I'm a side with that. And then that becomes their religion. But I want you to understand something. Whether you choose to plug into an organization or not, if you are practicing the philosophy that is connected to that organization, you are already guilty of association through practice. You are already initiated. Just keep that in mind, because the reality and the evidence of the word that you studied is being made manifest through your own physical projection. The frequency now that you've ingested within you from taking in the word, you are now professing it and projecting it through your attitudes, through your personalities. It becomes a reality, one with you. So now we are saying that we are going to attribute everything that sides with righteousness to be that which is good, and all that sides with what we would call darkness, or we would call the knowledge that pertains to ignorance. We would call that the book of wickedness or the book of shadows. And we start to realize that if we got into this information without truly even knowing who we are, we must accept that we have now just picked up a spiritual shirt, even, or a jacket or whatever, and worn that and believed that we were that we wore. Without knowing who we truly are, we just adopt an identity and we claim that to be who we are. See the power of the word? Do you see how powerful word is? But do you even see how much more powerful it is when you understand how it works in you when you are in the mode of ignorance, and now how you can work with it when you step into the mode of knowledge, when you transcend passion? Because when we come across certain information, there's a certain passion within us, a certain desire, a fire that is burning for us to take it all in. But then, when the true light of knowledge wakens within us, this is when we see that we are this field, a plain field in which we can harbor both yin, yang, right, left, light, dark. We can harbor all of these, but our initial state is actually transcendent to both. If we choose to now subject our mind to one side, that's just us deciding to yield onto an identity that's really not us. You just picked it up and you put it on. Our real identity, which we would like to call it the supreme self. We would like to call it the soul. We would like to call it the all-knowing, because even that information that you picked came from a mind that is a projection from this same higher universal conscious mind. I hope y'all are following. And this is just me sharing my own opinion on how I'm seeing a madness break out in our world, where people think that they can claim the Christ to themselves. Or people think that they can claim Buddha to themselves. You know, people who think that, nah, we called it door. And yes, everybody could walk through it, right? But that's not even what they're caring about. They're saying we called it door and you calling it ba'a. And that other person is calling it whatever, right? Whatever name they decide to put on it. But since we decided to call it door first, that has to be the original name. And if you're not believing in what we're calling your door, then you just can't get in. You just can't get in. And they're looking at you like, we all speak different languages, but we all can understand ourselves. And yet the core of it is us living righteously. That's for those who picked up the manuscript that contained the doctrines for righteousness. So we're saying, why are we fighting when we understand that our true identity is transcendental? Our true identity is truly beyond the yin and the yang, but we do possess the ability to project either or. My people, I'm trying to tell y'all, when it comes to truly understanding the root cause of some of the madness that we are seeing manifested in our world today, we have to be very, very honest with ourselves. That's even the initial point. We have to go beyond the word. We have to go beyond the spell and see that which sits even beyond this. Because if we know that this is just the shadow that's passing, then we're not going to be too focused even in the word that's coming at us to keep us trapped. But there is also a knowledge that understands the nature of both transcendence and the nature of man being in his lower form. And that which is being made manifest from the higher realms, which is not operating or being governed by the laws that govern matter, is not subject to the duality, because it is already in the mode of light. And that is that frequency that we are all, especially those who appreciate the Christ, that is the frequency that we are all unifying ourselves to project, not just in word, but in action. Because once we understand this pure Christ frequency, I'm calling it a Christ frequency because that is just me attributing it to the word of the Christ. When you understand the word of the Christ, it is a frequency. We can establish by now that the word is frequency. When you read it and you ingest it, digest it, and you project it in word, and it, vibrates through your life, we get to see that it is truly frequency. So please, bear with me. Stop saying stuff like, oh, he's talking about Christ consciousness, and see how it all connects. I want y'all to really see how it truly all connects. And we are making sense of this. That way we can truly see that this whole dual philosophy of separating sheep and goat, it is just knowledge and ignorance. It's just love and hate. And we're choosing to give over to certain vibrational thoughts. If we choose to subject ourselves to certain vibrations of hate, then we're going to get to see the manifestations that come about through that as well too. And then it's going to tie in to the organization that picked up the manuscript and decided to say, we're going to live against what this manuscript says. Y'all stay tuned, my people. Stay with me. Religion is but a pathway. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. Religion is a pathway. And I want you to keep this in mind. there are those who practice religion with absolute devotion, but they truly don't know the real spirit of religion, which is self. It's not about you thinking that you're so much projecting reverence onto that which is outside of yourself, not truly seeing that this action of you projecting reverence is a cleansing, it's a communication, it's an awakening, it's a shifting. That is, you should now step into the fullness of consciousness and manifest, because you are now living in spirit. If you go to an organization, say you go to church, and you see the preacher preaching, but some of the practices that they're practicing within the church, you don't so much agree with it, it doesn't necessarily mean that the religion is not good for you or that you can't learn from it, but more so that this church decided to include a certain ritual or practice that you don't agree with. And so you just can't say that you cannot get nothing from religion. We can't just say religion. Nah, we cannot just be using our feelings. If we're truly logical, we cannot just be using our feelings to condemn material that we can get to climb up this ladder of duality to attain our true transcendental state. That way we're no longer being shifted in the realm of duality, always constantly feeling like we need to be going against something. But since we've attained the knowledge that brings about understanding, collaboration, coexistence, love, forgiveness, once we truly realize that we've attained that, then we know our real positioning. So we can't be condemning religion. It's a pathway. And if you see people practicing things that doesn't tie into the real doctrine of that religion, doesn't mean that that religion is not authentic within itself. It just means that those individuals are hypocrites. Don't ascribe something that is non-living. That book is non-living as it is with the words in it. It's not going to just jump up and start reading itself to you. You got to pick it up and read it to get the spirit. You see? You know? And just because you step into a science lab and you see chemists and maybe physicians working together on some stuff that you know is not ethically or morally right, doesn't necessarily mean that science is bad, right? We cannot just condemn science and say science is bad. Nah, those chemists and those physicians are practicing knowledge that is dangerous, it is dark, and is wicked. It is them. It is not science itself. It is the people who've come across this knowledge and decided to use their desires in conjunction with their will to manifest negative thoughts. So now we're going to have to start calling a spade a spade. That's just what it is. You call a spade a spade. And then we have to also be letting people know that your title does not really mean anything. If you have to sit down and go through training processes as well to be able to understand the importance of all of us coexisting, if that's what it has to be, then that's probably what it's going to have to be. We have to start accepting this truth. But let us not condemn religion, because a majority of us, even before we were initiated into the word of understanding or understanding or getting close to understanding what spirit is, what self is, what soul is, what God is, it was through religion. And that, like I said, that's a pathway. It's a pathway that gets to lead to self, the real self in us. It's a pathway. Some people actually are able to even get to self through the Bible. They're able to get to self through the Quran. They're able to get to self through the Bhagavad Gita. Some people are able to get to self just by sitting in nature. But this self manifested supremely as Yeshua. That's what they're saying. That's what we read in one of the scripts. The perfect example. We believed it. Some of us, we believed it. Some of us, we heard it. We believed it. There's another script that somebody else got. It says, the perfection. This same self manifested itself as the Buddha. Some say as Krishna. I want you to understand the dictates of righteousness that comes about from these different names. If you are somebody who likes to study, you're going to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to argue with nobody. I'm just going to take my time and study these and get to the common denominator myself, if at all there's going to be one. And then you get to study and you see they're talking about righteousness. And the spirit is what is really alive. That book is not alive. It is your spirit, how you speak when you're interrelating with your neighbors, your family, your people. How you act when you're around your people is going to be the proof of the spirit that you ingested from whatever book. If that book's core is righteousness, you will manifest righteousness. And if anybody is judging you, not based off of your word and your real actions, but they're judging you based off of your attachment to a book, then you have to question that person's real intentions, because maybe they're just trying to enslave you to the book rather than getting you to realize your I am presence, who you truly are in spirit and in flesh. That's why we start to question some of these people's agendas. We start to question some of these people who are emphasizing so much on the book, rather than the action, the word that you're speaking, how you're interrelating with people. Are you trying to have us chained to a book? Meanwhile, the book, the words that came from that book came from a man, came from a living entity, and I am living, and I am a conduit, and I can channel love. You can channel love. So why are we not emphasizing on the real active mode of the word, which is us interacting together? We are already floating on this planet by the covalent bond of love. And we're grateful for that, just to be able to be breathing this oxygen. So the best way to use it is not to spend time arguing about a manuscript. Is we got the common denominator already. Let's live, let's enjoy, let's go barbecue, let's go out, let's go camp. Let's respect people, let's love people, let's forgive, let's encourage people to live in harmony. That is already the heaven that is here, vibrate. That's the frequency that we need to tap into to really manifest the heaven that we all know we want. You trying to tell me that if that book said I'm only going to die before I experience heaven, and I'm telling you that it's because you're choosing to give your mind over to a prophecy that you want that to be your prophecy, and you're trying to project that to be everybody else's prophecy, and we're saying, no, we all want to experience heaven right here. And we can, if we choose to stop giving our minds over to thoughts that are enslaving us in lower vibrational frequencies. And accept that, yeah, we about to step into the reality of manifesting higher frequencies. And every day we're going to have to love. We're going to have to really overcome. That's the inner work. This is where the teachings from the manuscript of the Buddha come into play. But we don't have to read the whole thing. Buddha just emphasized the Eightfold Path, and you got to get quiet. You know what I'm saying? Check your speech and get down. Get down. Be still. I really think we've gotten into the age where we must really revisit the teachings of the Buddha. Very, very important. Everybody must be quiet at some point and listen to their own thoughts. Everybody else should not always want to listen to you. And you should not have to listen to everybody else and not listen to yourself. Sometimes we listen to ourselves, then we truly understand. We truly understand. I'm going to cap it at that. I went over 20, and I'm trying to keep my video short. But if you stayed up, if you stayed all the way through to this, I know you a subscriber. I know you already liked this video, and I know you dropping your comment below. I know you sharing this. I know these conversations are coming up in different households, and we're talking about it like, yeah, we're going to manifest the kingdom of God here. It is not a far-fetched idea. We started even within ourselves. Oh my God, the kingdom is within me. There is so much love in me and I slept on it this whole time. There's so much compassion in me and I slept on it this whole time. I felt like I needed all of this money to really be giving in abundance, yet I got abundance of love to give. I got abundance of compassion to give. What have I been thinking this whole time, Lord? And you see it and you realize, yes, we can bring it to fruition. Once we rise, we are forever grateful. I am forever grateful. Truly, we bless his holy name. And bless all of y'all too. My spiritual friends in need. Until next time, y'all stay blessed. The Free Mind Chronicles coming live. The common denominator.